Well, this show is going out to Kathleen. Hopefully she's listening or watching. Kathleen asked, when can we make deductions from an exempt worker's pay? Now, we've already talked that exempt workers are handled differently, right? They are, they're not eligible for overtime. And remember, under the Fair Labor Standard Act, we're not counting hours with exempt workers. Exempt workers can get paid the negotiated rate at the time of employment, whatever they negotiated, they can get paid that rate, whether they work 2 hours in that week or 50 hours in that week. That's just the nature of the position. But at very specific times, we are permitted to deduct time from their paycheck. And you gotta be really secure that you're meeting this criteria and these specific details. So I want to go through these with you. And this might be a really good time for you to just take some notes. Because at some point, if you're handling human resources and you have genuinely classified exempt workers, this will come up. It's absolutely fascinating. Kathleen's coming from a company of, I believe, 125 employees. And the question was, can we make deductions from individuals who leave early? So instead of staying until 5, they cut out at 3 o'clock. And it's not every single day, but it's occasional. And so I said, well, let's kind of go through the rules and let's see if any of them apply. The first thing I made very clear is, you need to talk to the manager. You need to talk to their supervisors, because if they're excusing these individuals to leave early, we don't deduct any time. If they have permission, they get paid the same rate. So instead of if they're cutting out 2 hours out, and they're working a basic 40-hour week, if they're actually only physically working 38 hours, they still get paid for the 40. However, and here's number one, if an exempt individual is absent for 1 or more full days for personal reasons other than sickness or disability, the company can actually back away and say, do we want to deduct that rate, that pay? Perfect scenario. How many of you have taken off a long weekend? You've taken off on a Thursday, so you don't show up for Thursday and Friday to take your kids to college tours or to go watch a ball game at a distant college. That's a personal reason outside of sickness and disability, and you're taking off 2 full days. The company could, in their discretion, stay within the Fair Labor Standard Act's guidelines and deduct those 2 days from that week of payroll. Now, if an individual is absent for 1 or more full day due to a sickness or disability, if the deduction is made in accordance with a bona fide plan policy or a process of providing a procedure or such, a program that provides compensation for salary loss due to illness, we can deduct time as well. So the perfect example of that is we have an individual who is sick or on disability, and they're receiving compensation either by workers' comp or short-term disability. Their compensation will come from one of those 2 programs versus their normal compensation, their salary. Otherwise, they'd be double dipping, is basically what I'm saying. They're not going to get workers' comp pay as well as their salary pay. So if you have one of those circumstances, absolutely. you have the right under the FLSA to deduct those days. How about to offset amounts of payment made to an employee for jury duty or witness fees, maybe military pay, if they're receiving compensation for days off through the military, say they have to take a long weekend with the Guard, we're not obligated to pay them because the military is paying them. They're not working. They're obligated to the military. If they're on jury duty, they get $80 for sitting on a jury duty. We can take the $80 from their salary because the jury duty paid them. They're not at a loss. You see where this gets kind of fishy, kind of gray, but yet it's not. And when you're making these kind of decisions, you want to make sure that the individual making these decisions knows these laws, knows this language, and a supervisor or a team lead, individuals that may not be the best at making these kind of executive decisions, is telling an employee, yeah, well, I'm not paying you the week. You don't show up, you're out. Or better yet, a supervisor who is just willing to continue paying no matter what the employee is doing. I mean, there is bad managers out there, and you've got to keep an eye on that. Reason number 4 would be penalties imposed in good faith for infractions of safety rules or of major significance. Safety rules of major significance. Let's say you've got a guy on the forklift and just absolutely doesn't understand that he has to follow certain rules handling that kind of piece of equipment. You can dock him. You can send him home. Send him home and have him think about it. Major significant? Maybe not someone who is using their stapler incorrect, or maybe someone who didn't report that the carpet was snagged in their office. That may not be major significance. So again, make sure that you're looking at these very carefully and that the appropriate person is denying somebody their payroll. The 5th reason is unpaid disciplinary suspensions of 1 or more full days imposed in good faith for workplace conduct work infractions. Think about this one. There's a fight out in the parking lot. There's somebody took a punch at somebody in the break room. Somebody brought in a weapon of some sort when the company has a strict policy of no weapons. Those are serious and significant enough that you can suspend somebody and withhold their pay. In fact, in some cases, if you're going to do an investigation, let's say that there is a fight in the parking lot and you have to do a full-blown investigation, you can, especially if you've got proof that it was truly going on and these individuals were involved, you can suspend without pay. And then if you find that someone's innocent in the situation, you can give them back the pay. Again, be very careful, but think it through. Walk it through. And always help the employee understand that these are not your rules, but these are the rules under the Department of Labor Division of Wage and Hour and protected by the Fair Labor Standards Act. The 6th and most commonly misunderstood type of deduction is the initial and last week of an employee's employment. Think of it this way. Let's say that you've got an exempt worker and your pay period is the 1st of the month to the 15th and then the 16th through the end of the month. If the individual decides to start outside of the 1st of the pay period, either the 1st or the 16th, and they start somewhere in the middle, the 9th, 10th, or the 20th or 23rd, you legally can pay them exclusively for the time that they worked. First week, last week. Completely legitimate. So, how do you make these decisions? Again, you're going to talk to your team. You're going to make sure that no one's making any promises, and that if an individual looks like they're going to have to go out for personal time and they're going to take a long weekend, make absolutely sure that they understand before they go, hey, this is going to be considered unpaid time. Another really good conversation for employees in that particular scenario is to help them go back over the company policy. Do we require that they take paid time versus unpaid time? Because if we're going to decide we're not going to pay them for that Thursday and Friday when they go to the college visit, do we need to tell them they have to use PTO? Because they need to help make that decision themselves. And make sure that no one's doctoring time cards or payroll without the employee knowing it. Remember, we have to be transparent, or we will lose the faith and trust of our employees. You don't mess with somebody's pay. You just don't do it. But you can help them understand the laws and the protections they have under the laws. And as I've said a million times before, perception is 99% reality. Help them understand that it's not you. It's the Fair Labor Standards Act. I'm so glad you joined us today. And remember, that was for Kathleen. If you have your own recommendation, or if you want me to talk about a topic or bring in an expert, just let us know. That's what we're here for. My name's Pandy. Thank you for watching The Human Resource.